there is a superpower that comes with kind of releasing the things in the military that gave you purpose, made you feel like you could do more. So the military is not all bad and it's not all good. There's a dichotomy to it. Everything is not black and white. There are things from the military that you can take in for yourself and use for the future. Leadership, discipline, creativity. Welcome to the VetRise Podcast. I'm your host, Juan Perez. My goal is to make success after service accessible to every veteran in society. I believe in the power of leveraging your service, not as a label that defines you, but as a launching pad for your next chapter. What we have been doing has not been working, and it's on us to start changing the culture. Enjoy the episode, and thank you for your time. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the VetRise Podcast. I'm actually live streaming right now on TikTok. And I wanted to do this because this is something I want to do for a while. I haven't done it, but I'm going to be answering questions live on TikTok, and I'm going to record the podcast. So I'm sure it's going to be absolutely freaking amazing because everybody on the TikTok always asks amazing questions. So I appreciate you guys being here live. And if you're listening to this on the podcast episode, definitely check out my TikTok or my Instagram. I'd go there live as often as possible. And I try and give as much value as I can. Angela, how you doing? Welcome to the live. Savannah, thank you for showing up. Life Liberty, I see you. Salim Khan, thank you for being here. 258 and EO422. So this is your chance, if you're on TikTok live, to ask me anything you want, and I will continue the conversation as we go. If you're listening to the episode, stay tuned. I promise you this is going to be a great conversation. It usually always is when I'm on TikTok live. I'm going to go ahead and kick it off and give you guys just a little bit of motivation to get you going for the TikTok live. And we are kicking it off. So Life Liberty asked, how do we get past the hate that we have for ourselves felt from the military? So the way that I think you're asking that question is, how do we get past the hate that we feel for ourselves from being in the military or being part of the military or leaving the military? If that's the wrong way that you phrased it, or if I'm reading it wrong, please do clarify, but let me just answer that question. We are human beings. We are individuals that served in the U.S. Armed Forces, if you are a veteran. We went through something and we did something that is abnormal for most. Most people do not raise their right hands. Most people don't decide to serve their country. Most people don't have it in them to do so, and that's okay. Because if everybody did it, it wouldn't be special. If everybody didn't, it wouldn't be unique. If everybody did it, we would be a different type of country. But it's meant to be hard. It's meant to be freaking jaw-jacking. It's meant to be heart-stirring, and it's meant to get your emotions high because you're going to do things and you're going to be in areas of your life that are going to be very, very monumental. And what do I mean by that? What do I mean by that is that when you deploy, when you are in, even if you don't deploy, you're still doing things that most people don't do. You're going through boot camp. You are going through life, and it's hard. And we cannot have hate for that. The way that we can negate the hate is by finding ways to love ourselves, by finding joy in our present life. We are human beings. We have served in the military, but we are still human. So this applies to everybody. If you feel anger, resentment, hate towards anything from your past, be it the military, be it a relationship, be it the way that you were raised, be it your parents, your friends, whoever, your old you have to find something to replace it with. We all cope. We cope either by being angry, by feeling resentment, or by finding something to replace that with, by finding something so monumental that it starts to take away that pain. It starts to take away that anger. You need to replace the negatives with positives. And if you are not happy with where you are right now, you need to create something passionate for yourself to lean into, to let go of the past. Because if you are thinking about the past, You cannot, by default, make any space for the present, and therefore the future cannot be what you want it to be. Angela said, I can do PT like I used to unless I click on my brain to think I was in the military still. I can't do PT like I used to unless I click on my brain to think I was in the military still. All right. My response to that is, yes, you can. However, there is a superpower. There is a superpower that comes with kind of releasing the things in the military that gave you purpose, made you feel like you could do more. So the military is not all bad and it's not all good. There's a dichotomy to it. Everything is not black and white. There are things from the military that you can take in for yourself and use for the future. Leadership, discipline, creativity, attention to detail, willingness to do things that other people won't do. If you can click that brain on and remind yourself that you were capable then, you're capable now, I promise you, you can PT just the same. However, maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you have to PT differently. Maybe you have to start training for life. Start doing different types of workouts that actually made sense to you. You don't have to spend 2 hours in the gym. You don't have to destroy your body. You don't have to go on a 20-mile hump with 150 pounds on your back. We all know that didn't serve us well then, and it's not going to serve us well now. It had a reason then. There was a purpose behind it. You had to feel like you could get through anything then. But right now, you need to train for life. You need to train for life. Excuse me. All right, Ramsey said, I'm working out 2-a-days, brother, 6 days a week, just like I did while active. Adjustments are hard right now. So let me ask you this, Ramsey. I'm all about working out. However, same thing that Angela said. If you are working out for 2 hours and maybe 2 days a week, 6 days a week, are you leaving space for personal growth in other areas of your life? How is your communication skills? How are your relationships? How is your career? Or are you spending so much time in one area of your life that other areas are being sacrificed? Because everything is a sacrifice, right? And also, don't forget, you can actually overtrain, because if you're not giving your body enough time to recover, how do you make sure that you recover? You can't, right? And Angela said it. She just said that she has horrible relationships. Okay, Angela, then I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to challenge you here. Because if you spend that much time in the gym working on yourself, you need to work on yourself in other areas of your life. Health, wealth, relationship, and self. Those are the 4 areas that I feel need to be addressed on a daily basis. Health, working out, training appropriately, the right way. Wealth, doing something that's going to progress you and your career and your life and your mentality and your knowledge further in life. Reading. Maybe it means doing a little bit more at work in the right way. Relationships. Health, wealth, relationship, and self. Relationships. Are you focusing time and energy and effort into actually spending time, quality time, with the people that you want to spend time with? Are you mending those relationships? Are you working on yourself to make sure that those relationships turn out better because you're actually giving a damn about them? We have to make sure that we are spending time in every one of those areas. And then last but not least, self. What are you doing for yourself? And it has to be selfish. It has to be. Because for the longest, we put ourselves last. We over-volunteer for everything. We feel like we get value from helping everybody else besides our own selves, right? All right, so Ramsey said, I just got out, man. So right now, everything is all over the place, almost overwhelming. Absolutely, brother. Abso-freaking-lutely. Let me tell you this right now. The advice that I have for you is don't waste time and energy on the things that you don't want to have in your life anymore. So if right now you are using all your time and energy to working out all the time, are you spending enough time currently improving your personal life, addressing the shortcomings that you have, the issues? Because I don't want you to just use the gym as therapy. The gym can be therapeutic, abso-freaking-lutely. But I also want you to do things for yourself. I want you to start progressing. I want you to network. I want you to meet the right people. I want you to go to school, go to college, get yourself educated. This is your time. You gave up your time before in the military. This is your time, brother. You get to do what you want with your life now. And trust me, if you just got out, that overwhelm can turn into opportunity, but only if you are prepared for it. And Savannah knows this. Savannah is right here on the live, and she's one of my clients, and her and her husband, Steven, are absolutely killing it. Is it hard? Yes. Do things go wrong? Absolutely. But they show up. And sometimes you have to go on autopilot. Sometimes you have to tell yourself that you are going to be willing to be a freaking fighter jet and not a hot air balloon. You cannot just go with the flow. You have to do things for yourself. You have to be willing to take yourself and put yourself in a different mindset, a different place actively. You have to do it. Nobody else will do it for you. I just did a coaching call for my clients, and the conversation today was about self-sabotage. And a lot of people thought that I was going to talk about what you need to stop doing, that you can't do this anymore, that you have to stop doing that. But how do we stop doing that? How do we identify what we need to do then? How do we identify what areas of our life we want to work on if we don't have something to aim at? So unless you have something large to aim at, unless you have a passion, which you can create, by the way, it doesn't have to be found. How can you reduce the self-sabotage and the negative things in your life and the negative things that you do in the areas of your life if you don't have something to aim at? You can't replace it unless you have something to replace it with. And Austin just said on the TikTok live, I'm about to rejoin. I swear it's not worth it anymore. Listen, brother, I got news for you. It's hard, but so is being in. You got out for a reason. There was something that you wanted more that the military did not give you. And out here, I promise you, it's here for you. You just have to be willing to find it. You have to be willing to step out of your comfort zone. You have to be willing to put the work in. It's not about sacrificing everything. It's not about embracing the suck. It's about understanding that you do deserve life and love and everything. It's just about, are you willing to do the thing that is required of you to get it? Gerald said, yo, I'm in SOI, ITV right now, and I want to quit so bad. My man, right now, you are just getting started. The fact that you want to quit tells me that you are in the right place. It's supposed to make you want to quit because it's not supposed to be easy. If it was easy, everyone would do it. But I want you to know that all it takes, Gerald, is all you got. You already have it inside of you, my man. These next 4 years of your life can either be dreadful and you can just be waiting for the day you get out, or you can lean into it, start learning, start PTing better, start doing better in life, start realizing that when someone says something to you, it's not personal. It's just that you're in the military now and you need to develop that thick skin because it will help you right now. And eventually you will be able to change the dynamic and you can get yourself in a leadership position. And just like Austin said, the first enlistment is for the Corps. The second one is for you. If you want to re-enlist, then great, that's fine. But if you don't, that's okay too. It has to be something that you want to do. So it's not a bad thing that right now you want to quit. We all did in SOI. It's just you have to understand that you made a commitment. And unless you want to live your life doubting yourself and wondering what you could have been, you need to keep your commitment. You need to keep your commitment. Guys, do me a favor. If you are on the TikTok, share this live. Bring other people, like it. That is the way that we get more people in the live. And if you have a question, if you want me to talk about something, bring it up and I'm willing to talk about it. Thank you for liking the live, Ramsey. I appreciate it. So if you have been out for 5 years, 10 years, even longer than that, I promise you, it's hard being out, but it's harder not adjusting to being out. You can make your life either miserable and be angry, and then you romanticize your time in the military, and then you forget how miserable that time in was, or you actually realize that being out is the best gift that you can give yourself. Because you're telling yourself that you trust yourself enough to actually be able to make it out here, even when it's hard. Even when it's hard. Even when it's hard. Guys, I've been through multiple divorces. I've been drunk every night of the week. I used to smoke 2 packs of cigarettes a day. I used to be 230 pounds, overweight, fat, nasty. And what I want you to know is that you can come back from that. Nothing in life is permanent. Everything is temporary. It's just about how bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? How much do you want to change your circumstances? Austin said, your video talking about veterans aren't reintegrating, we're integrating. All right, so you're talking about my video about veterans don't come back into society. We were never a part of society. That's true. And what I mean by that is that when we were 18 and when we joined the military, we had no idea who we were before. We had an idea of it. We kind of knew who we were. But for me, my formative years were when I was in the military. And then you leave the military and you lose your best friends. You lose all your people. And it's hard. You have to learn a whole new culture. But we don't. And then we wonder why we can't get by. We wonder why it's so hard, but we do it to ourselves. If when we went in, we could adjust and we were able to succeed because we paid attention. We learned what it meant to be a freaking Marine or soldier or airman or sailor. That means that we can do it now. How bad do you want it? What is up, Steven? How you doing, brother? Thank you for joining live. I appreciate you. All right, so this is a podcast episode that I'm recording. I will be releasing it tonight, hopefully the 24th. But I'm doing a TikTok live right now as well for the very first time. So if you are listening to TikTok right now, if you're on TikTok, do me a favor, go and open wherever it is that you listen to podcasts and search for the VetRise Podcast and give it a follow. I promise you, you will receive value. And if you're listening to the podcast right now, do me a favor, go to my TikTok, go to my Instagram, give me a follow. Why? Well, because it helps push the message out there to more people who need it, right? All right, Savannah asked, what was your hardest moment in the military? My hardest moment in the military, there's two. There's two hard moments for me in the military. One of them was during training in Bridgeport, California, when we were hiking up mountains with a 40 to 60 pound pack nonstop. And I remember feeling like I couldn't do it anymore. But guess what? I did. All I had to do was keep pushing. And I remember the feeling. I remember the feeling of looking down that hill and just telling myself that if I slip and I break a leg, or if I slip and I fall and I hit my head, that means I can stop hiking. And I wasn't thinking about doing it, no, but I just kept thinking, like, if that happens, it's not the worst thing for me. But I kept moving, one foot in front of the other, because that is all it takes in every area of your life. It is not just about the military. It is about out here in the real world as well. The second hardest moment for me in the military was when I was in Afghanistan. I was in Afghanistan, and we had just got into our first firefight. And I remember getting on top of the roof with my buddy's saw, because my saw went down because it just did all the time for some reason. I remember being on top of the roof with that saw, shooting into the tree line where we were being shot at. And I remember rounds hitting to the left and to the right of me. And I remember telling myself, like, this is it. I'm going to take a fucking round to the face and I'm going to die. I'm going to die here. The rounds were literally hitting to the left and to the right of me, and they were going above my head. I could hear them zipping past me. And I remember believing right there and then, like, I'm going to die right here. I'm going to die right here. What's up, Lita? How you doing? Welcome to the show. And yes, Stephen, the body will go further than your mind will. Absolutely. So there I was in Afghanistan, 2010, on a rooftop, laying down fire. And I remember telling myself that this was it. And all I could think about was the fact that I was proned out, and the most visible part of my body was my face. And I just kept telling myself, like, if I get shot in the face, I hope it just goes through. I hope it doesn't destroy my face, because I want my parents to be able to have an open casket. And I kept thinking about, oh, well, if I get shot in the face, I'm going to die. And now they have to get me off of this roof. And I want to make sure I'm not too heavy. So I want to get by the edge, so that way they can just pull me off the roof and they don't have to carry me down, right? And it was traumatic. It was hard. And it was a hard moment. And there were a lot of other hard moments in life. But the thing is, like, that's all they are. They are just moments. They don't define me. They don't make me the reason why I am. Do they add to a lot of the trauma that I've been dealing with? Absolutely. But that's the thing. We're dealing with it. G.I. Jules, what's going on? Hey, thank you for showing up today. I appreciate you, by the way. And thank you for being who you are. And thank you for joining the program, by the way. So again, if you're watching live and you have something you want to ask me, please feel free. I am actually doing a podcast episode right now. I'm recording a podcast and it will be released tonight. So if you don't follow the podcast, I definitely recommend you follow the podcast. I am always looking for guests. So if you've wanted to be on the podcast, if you enjoy the stuff I put out, please feel free to reach out. I always reply. I'm easier to find as far as messages on Instagram than I am on TikTok. In TikTok, I get so many messages a day that it's hard to reply to everybody. So just letting you guys know. All right. And if you can, go and follow the podcast. And yes, Steven was my first guest on the podcast. So Steven, I'm going to talk about that. Steven, so how do you hear the podcast? So you can find the podcast, Angela, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on YouTube, anywhere that you listen to podcasts. You can search for the VetRise Podcast, and you will be able to find the podcast. So Steven was my first guest on the podcast because he took action on it. So I had told myself that I was not going to have any guests for a while until I was ready. Of course, we all know that we're never ready, right? But Steven spoke up. He raised his hand. He freaking came across the country, him and his wife and his family, and it was a great time. We went out to dinner. The whole, everybody that was in the area from the Savage Squad, we went out to dinner. We had a beautiful time. And because he made it happen for himself, he was my first guest on the podcast. And it was an absolutely amazing experience. Steven, can you remind us what episode number that is? I always forget. And Savannah asked a question, what was your goal pre-military compared to post-military? Yeah, good question. I didn't have any goals pre-military. I didn't have any. The only one that I thought about, episode 9. So if you're here listening live, check out episode 9. It was a freaking doozy. I really asked Steven to step out of his comfort zone, and he did just that. It was an absolutely great experience, and hopefully, I know we will. I'll have him on again soon. So to answer your question, Savannah, the only goal that I had pre-military was I wanted to become a scout sniper, and it wasn't as clear as I thought it would be, because eventually it did happen, right? But that was the only thing that I wanted to do when I did join. And honestly, that was the only thing I wanted. I didn't think about anything else. I didn't think about life after the military. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And my goals post-military is I wanted to become an undercover officer. I wanted to work narcotics. I wanted to work gang investigations. I wanted to do something undercover. So that was my goal post-military. And I went into law enforcement, and I did do that, and it was absolutely an amazing experience. And now I have new goals. I have new aspirations, new dreams, and we all should. We should keep growing and changing and evolving. So I'm going to be here for another couple of minutes before the episode ends. I don't want to keep it too long. We're going to try and keep it down to 25 minutes, and I will be wrapping up. So if you're here, feel free to ask questions on the TikTok. If you're listening to the podcast and you're enjoying what we're talking about so far, do me a favor. Go check me out on TikTok, or my Instagram specifically is where I'm trying to bring more people, just because I post on my Instagram story all day, and I don't do that on TikTok. One more question from Savannah. Do you have a funny core memory from your service experience? So many funny core memories. So thank you for the questions, by the way. I appreciate that. A funny core memory that I have from my military experience. I remember being in training in SOI, actually, for Jared, if you're still here. And I remember that we were training, and it was absolutely just pouring down on us, like pouring. There was no way you didn't get wet. And I remember I was soaked. All my clothes were soaked. My camis were soaked. We were wearing Gore-Tex, but that didn't matter because you were wet. And we were laying in puddles. We were building fighting holes. And just no matter what, you were going to get absolutely just miserably wet. And I remember thinking to myself, like, this is fun. I liked this. This is what I wanted to do when I was little. Like, I am literally building a fighting position. PTing, yeah, sure, doing flower kits in the rain. Like, I'm building a fighting position in the rain with my buddies, like training, doing these operations. Like, this is everything I've ever wanted. And I remember that there was people that were miserable. And to me, it didn't feel miserable, right? Like, yeah, you can go internal and feel sorry for yourself, and you can let the uncomfortable feeling of being in a bunch of rain and being wet really take you in, or you can learn to dance in the rain. You can learn to enjoy it. We all wonder, why we want this beautiful sky and beautiful flowers, but yet we complain when it rains. I love the rain. Savannah said, thank you for answering my questions. You know I'm full of them. Maybe one day I'll be on the podcast. Absolutely, Savannah. I would love to have you on the podcast. And Steven laughed. It brought up his core memory. That's awesome. All right, guys. That's going to be it. Wrapping it up. Thank you guys for joining the TikTok Live. Thank you for listening to the podcast episode. If you are listening right now, again, please follow me on social media. It is the way that we can keep spreading the message, or just share this podcast with someone that you think might enjoy it. All right, guys. Thank you so much. And that's going to be it. Thank you for your time. And that brings us to the end of another episode of the VetRise Podcast. If today's episode inspired you, made you think, or simply gave you hope, I have a small favor to ask. Share it with just one veteran or someone you think could benefit from my message. Your share could light a spark for them. You don't know who you might save. For more insights and to join our mission, follow my socials at JP the Veteran Coach and explore how we can rise together. Thank you for joining us, for being part of this journey, and for believing in the power of rising together. Until next time, keep pushing forward, keep rising, and never forget that we are stronger together. My name is Juan Perez, and thank you for your time.